So he was provided.
All right.
Your Honor, I have a brief request because you may not realize this, but other judges have different procedures. Can you just walk us through so we can follow your procedure for this?
Sure.
Thank you.
If we're talking about impeaching somebody,
We are, sir.
it's an amazing thing to me. I mean, maybe they've changed the way they teach it in law school, but it's pretty simple. Because I see the younger lawyers do it every time, and it's not correct. Not every time, I shouldn't say that. If you're going to impeach a witness with a prior inconsistent statement via prior sworn testimony, you ask them a question. What color was the car? The witness says blue, but you have in the deposition where the last time they said the car was red. So you grab your deposition and you say to the witness, do you remember giving prior sworn testimony on such and so a day? You remember there being a court reporter present? You remember being placed under oath? All those niceties. Do you recall at page 27, line 32, me asking you this question and you giving this answer? What color was the car? The car was red. Do you recall that question and answer? The witness says, yes. That's the end of it. The witness says, no. You're stuck with that too. That's how you impeach somebody with a prior inconsistent statement. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Hope that was on TV.
It is. That's like impeachment 101. But
It is.
It is, that when we used to pass hard photographs to 14 jurors, it did take longer. So we like the technology, but we still have hard copies for the.
Well, that's issue number 2.
Right. But I just want to make sure you remember that.
Well, when you take into consideration when these things go down, and that, you know, the time it takes, instead of having the old boom box in here and pushing it and the audio tape plays, the time it takes to go through the computer, find the one you want, click it, do all that business, you could have hit it and played it. And yes, in a trial like this, when you've got these many jurors, it takes a little longer to hand them all the photos, but normally you'd hand it to them. Anyway.
We're ready to vote.
I've adapted.
Paper, scan it, you what?
I've adapted.
Yes, sir.
Somewhat.
Yes. Thank you, Judge.
Still like the hard copies. Don't take very much. By the way, all right, so I've got them all. So we're good. Anything else?
Ready, thank you.
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay, then bring the jurors on in.
Judge, corner.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we're ready to resume. Ms. Hanania.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Thompson, I believe that we were speaking about the fact that you had just gotten to the gate station. Do you remember where we were, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I had asked you about whether or not that you, at the time that you pulled up to the gate station, you parked in the third space. Isn't that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the third space from the front doors. Isn't that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. And so you parked hood first.
Hood first.
Okay. And y'all pulled up right to the curb stop, right to where you couldn't go anymore. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And at that time, y'all were still in the same positions you had been in earlier. Is that right?
Correct.
And everybody's windows, to your recollection, were still in the same positions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Storns gets out. He leaves the car running. Is that right?
Correct.
And the music's still playing.
Correct.
And you guys are chit-chatting about your plans here and there, but you're not having a lot of conversation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when this black sedan pulls up, it pulls up in the space next to where y'all are parked, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have put it in the second space from the front doors, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And that, the black sedan also pulled in hood first, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And it pulled up so that when you looked to the black sedan, that was to your right, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your front seats were even, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it was front seat to front seat, back seat to back seat, lined up, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in terms of the relative sizes of the cars, you were in the red Durango, you've already said, right?
Correct.
And that's a pretty tall car, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
It's an SUV type vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
And the black sedan that pulled up was a much lower car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And smaller car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're turning and looking at the sedan, you're turning and looking to your right and down, is that right?
Correct.
Now, you said that the black sedan pulled up in its space.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Okay. But kind of close to your car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe that you said that you couldn't open the car door all the way, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you could open the car door, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, sir, there were 4 of you guys in the car,
Yes, ma'am.
and now would you describe yourself, how tall are you, sir?
Back then or now?
Back then, if you've grown taller in that time period?
I was like 5'11".
Okay. And at that time, what was your size? What was your approximate weight? Doesn't have to be exact, but about what were you?
Like 260.
Okay. And now, Mr. Storns, is he shorter or taller than you?
Taller than me.
Okay. And approximately, was he heavier or smaller than you?
Smaller.
Okay. And what about Mr. Brunson?
Smaller.
And how tall is he? Shorter or taller than you?
Shorter.
And Mr. Davis, what about him, sir?
He was taller.
Okay, but he was also much skinnier than you?
Correct.
Okay. As a matter of fact, Mr. Davis was probably the skinniest of all you guys. Would that be fair to say?
Tommy.
Okay. Now, when this black sedan pulls up next to you, their windows are up. Is that right? Or at least the driver's side window is up.
Yeah, correct. Driver's
Okay.
side was up.
Because you can see that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you turn, you're listening to the music, you guys are all in the car, and then you turn and happen to see this person. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this is after Mr. Storns has gotten out of the car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, and what you turned and you saw was, you said you saw a white male who was mouthing something. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So you didn't actually hear what this person said, according to you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At any point during this entire incident, did you ever hear the white male's voice?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so all you can say is you saw him mouthing words. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what you saw is him mouthing, can you turn that down? I can't hear myself think. Is that right?
Correct.
And you didn't know this person, right?
No, ma'am.
So you'd never had any conversations with him in the past?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you could clearly discern that meaning make out all of those sentences, both of those sentences, just from him mouthing those words.
Yes, ma'am.
And this person, when he was saying, can you turn it down, it was a request, correct?
Correct.
He wasn't, throwing his arms around when he did that, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. He wasn't pounding on the steering wheel or the door or anything like that, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you can't even say that his voice was raised, is that right? Because you couldn't hear him.
Correct.
And you never heard or saw anything else, correct? From the white male?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Did you ever see or hear anything else from that white male?
After I turned the music down,
Yes, sir.
he just put his window back up.
Okay. Now, his window was up when he was mouthing these things to you, right?
No, he put it down, and then he said something towards up, and then he just put it back up.
Okay. So you're saying that at the time that he's mouthing to you, can you turn that down? He's put his window down.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't all the way down.
Okay. But then it went right back up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, but my question to you, sir, is you didn't see him mouth anything else?
Oh, no, ma'am. Not
Okay.
after that.
Okay. And you didn't hear him say anything else, right?
No, ma'am.
And you never saw him gesture angrily or wildly, right?
No, ma'am.
I mean, from that point on, not just when he first asked, but I'm saying from that point on, you never saw him do anything like that, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't, at that time, I wasn't looking at him.
Okay. Because when he mouthed, hey, can you turn it down, you turned to the radio and turned the music down, right?
Correct.
Okay. And because you didn't have any problems with turning the music down, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem.
But Mr. Davis did, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he got angry about this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The white male wasn't doing anything to keep the situation going, as far as you could tell, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But Mr. Davis said, and I'm going to, just for the record, have to have you say the entire sentence one time, using the actual words. Mr. Davis said what, sir? Say all the words, one time at least.
Fuck that nigga, turn the music back up.
Okay, all right. And the person who used that derogatory racial term was Mr. Davis, right?
Correct.
You never heard anything like that come from the white male, correct?
No, ma'am.
You never saw him mouth anything like that, correct?
No, ma'am.
And did you also hear Jordan Davis say, I'm tired of people telling me what to do, or no? Did you not hear that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you did hear Mr. Davis start to yell, right?
Correct.
Through his halfway down window
Yes, ma'am.
towards this black sedan.
Yes, ma'am.
And he kept on yelling, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he continued to be so angry he began cursing, correct? Or continued cursing, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was cursing and yelling towards the person in the black sedan, the white male in the black sedan, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you say that you don't hear everything that Mr. Davis says. Is that right?
Correct.
In spite of the fact that he's yelling,
Yes, ma'am.
because you're saying that the music was too loud for you
Yeah,
to hear that.
I turned the music back up. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because when Mr. Davis said to you, F that, you did in fact turn the music back up.
Correct.
And it was turned up back up, it was turned up back to about the same place it had been before, right?
Correct.
It wasn't any louder than it had been throughout the rest of the night, correct?
Correct.
But now you can't hear what Mr. Davis is saying in spite of the fact that you know that he's yelling.
Yes, ma'am.
And your back is to Mr. Davis, isn't that right, sir?
Correct.
And this, while the SUV is a tall, large vehicle, it's not inside, it's not any wider between the front seats and the back seats than most cars, isn't that right?
Correct.
So you and Mr. Davis, there's only probably a couple of feet between, I mean, a foot and a half maybe between the two of you.
Correct.
Right? Between your head and where he's sitting, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you never turned around to look to see what Mr. Davis was doing throughout this incident, right?
No, ma'am.
You were just facing forward, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You certainly never thought that this was going to get to where it was, right?
Correct.
So you can't sit here today under oath and say what Mr. Davis may or may not have done while he was sitting behind you,
Correct.
in terms of any gestures or motions that he made towards the black sedan.
Correct.
Now, when Mr. Storms is not in the gate station that long, is that right?
Correct.
And we've been talking about this for a few minutes, but this is all happening pretty quickly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Storms was in the store for a few minutes at most?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he'd gone in there to get cigarettes for himself and gum for the rest of you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So you could be fresh when you moved on to the next mall, right?
Correct.
All right. When he comes back out and gets into the car, which is still running, he gets in, you don't tell him what's been going on, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You just think, okay, we're just going to go normally, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you don't say anything to him about, hey, man, this is what's happening, let's go.
Well, when he came in, he kind of looked and seen what was going on.
Okay.
And then nobody really said anything about it. So he just it went about what he was doing.
Okay. So, but my bottom line is whether or not Mr. Storms noticed on his own, you didn't bring anything to his attention at that moment, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you then, it's something then, for some reason, you then turn and you see this white male pulling out a gun.
Correct.
And you see him point the gun in the direction of where Mr. Davis is sitting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So he's not pointing it towards your area of the car, right?
No, ma'am.
He's pointing it at the area of the person who's been yelling and screaming. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And maybe other things that you don't know about. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then at that point, this person's still seated in the front seat of the black sedan. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, the window at this point is a little bit down, halfway down. What is his position of the window at that point?
It was down.
Okay.
Not all the way down, but it was, I would say half. Yeah, half.
Okay, so you're going to say that his window is halfway down, okay?
Yeah.
And he's got the gun out the window?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, he's not looking through he's not like lining things up behind the gun because he can't do that because of his position, right?
Correct.
Okay, so he's just pointing the gun in that direction, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that there are 3 shots at that time, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're all to the same area,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And after those 3 shots, then the SUV that you're in starts to reverse, correct?
Correct.
And then there are other shots as y'all are reversing.
Correct.
Okay. Now you duck towards the middle, so you can't see what's still going on out there, right?
Correct.
And y'all go, you reverse and go into the next lot, is that right?
Correct.
Now, when you stop there for at least a minute or two, right?
Correct.
And both that you and Mr. Storns get out of the car, out of the SUV.
Yes.
That's right? And you look at Jordan Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do that by opening the car door and seeing what his condition is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Storns gets out and he opens Mr. Brunson's door as
No.
well. Isn't that right, sir?
No, he comes around the car to Jordan's door.
Okay. Now, and while y'all are there, now, this is an area you're very familiar with, is that right, sir?
Correct.
Because you go into that gate station quite a bit, right?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, you recognize some of the people who were working there that night, is that right?
In the gate gas station? Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Okay. And some of them recognized you because you're a frequent customer there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you're very familiar with this plaza or this area of shops that's kind of attached or next to the gate gas station, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And within that plaza, you have the Starbucks coffee, is that right?
Correct.
You've got the Loop restaurant,
Correct.
and you've got other restaurants as well,
Correct.
and shops, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, and this is about 7:30 or so, 7:40 or so, on the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you pull over into the next parking lot, you can't say for sure exactly where Tommy Storn stopped that car, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so when Mr. Guy put up that photograph and had you mark it, that's your best approximation of how far y'all got 2 years later. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree that that area of the parking, let me back up for a moment. Mr. Thompson, there are two areas of parking along that strip of malls, strip of stores, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, there's that area of parking that's right in front of the stores and restaurants?
Yes, ma'am.
Then there's a median, and then there's another area of parking, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and y'all were in the area of parking that was farther away from all those shops, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were a little bit farther away from the lights of all those shops there, correct?
No, the light, the whole thing is lit, and then there's the south side that will also have lights.
Okay, no, I understand that there were lights there. What I'm saying is you're farther away from those shops, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the Gates gas station you thought was better lit, correct?
Correct.
That's why you guys got back in the car and reversed back to the Gates station, right?
Correct. And there was other people there, so.
Okay. So at the time, at least, you thought that this area in the plaza where y'all had driven to was a darker area and with less people around, correct?
Correct.
Now, while you're at this area over at the plaza, the adjacent plaza that we've been talking about, you don't make a phone call to 911 after seeing what Mr. Davis's condition is. Isn't that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. You make a phone call to 911 at 7:43 when you get back to the gate station, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Mr. Brunson didn't call 911 either.
No, ma'am.
And to your knowledge, Mr. Storns didn't call 911, is that right?
No, ma'am.
And you guys didn't call out to anyone in the parking lot or in the shops or anything like that for help, I mean? You didn't do that?
As we went back to the gate, or
No, as you're,
there were people. There was no one really there. So when we just went back to the gate gas station, because people already seen what was going on,
Okay.
and they could already help us. They were already there.
okay. And whether or not you saw anybody, what I'm asking is you weren't screaming and hollering and yelling for help as you got out of the car at the plaza, the adjacent plaza. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. So you go back to the gate where you're saying there's more light and more people, and now you've pulled into the spot which is even farther down than when you parked before. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. You then, you're out of the car and Mr. Storms is out of the car. Is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Brunson and Mr. Davis are still in the back seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what you see is Mr. Davis kind of leaned up against Mr. Brunson.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Like kind of against his shoulder and upper chest kind of a thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it was only at that point, sometime after that, that you called 911.
No, as soon as we pulled in, I opened my door and I already had my phone in my hand calling. And
Okay. All right. And Tommy Storms is standing somewhere out in front of that SUV.
he was there, another lady who was calling 911.
Okay. And that was right at first, right?
No, this is all happening same time.
What I'm saying is, Mr. Storms gets out of the car, he's near this other lady. you see,
Correct.
Who's calling,
Yes.
okay? He doesn't stay right there next to her for the entire time. He moves away, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at some point, he's standing up at the sidewalk in front of the SUV, right?
Correct.
And off to the left of that, correct?
No, he was by the SUV.
Okay. Now, sir, when you opened the car door where Jordan Davis was sitting when you were parked over at the plaza, did you change anything in terms of any of the controls on that door?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you opened the car door on the SUV, the Durango, when you got back to the gate station, did you change any of the controls that were on Mr. Davis's door then?
No, ma'am.
Now, one of the things that you testified to is that when the shooting started, or just before the shooting started, you reached over and changed how Mr. Davis's window was. Is that right?
Correct.
So you leaned over to that door control and you hit the window control button. Is that right?
Yeah, I put it up.
Okay, but you didn't put it completely up. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, because Mr. Davis was still yelling and cursing and escalating the situation, right?
Sustain.
Mr. Davis could still, because part of the window was still open, was still yelling and cursing through that
Yes.
space, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you reached over to change that window position, you didn't hit any other button, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, sir, the police get there, and you and the other two men, and the young men in the car, are told to go stand over by a patrol car. Is that right?
Correct.
You're not inside the patrol car at that point. You're just standing by it. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the three of you were together at that time?
Correct.
Okay. And then when eventually, after some time standing there at the patrol car, you're then instructed by the police to go and wait inside the gate gas station. Is that right?
Correct.
Where a number of other people who are also potential witnesses are told to wait as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And the three of you are together while waiting there.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you're transported down to the homicide office, you're transported in the same patrol car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're all three in the back seat at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
And this was a pretty significant event in your life, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You had never been in this situation before, is that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. It was an intense situation that you had been in?
Yep.
With
Yes,
these-
ma'am.
With these other two people, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And, sir, when you talk to, you do talk to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office detectives, is that right?
Correct.
You talked to them on at least 2 days, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
One was the night that this occurred, and one was about 4 days later, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't say anything to those detectives about any issues with the door locks when you speak to them on that night, on that first night. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
If I may have 1 moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Guy?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes, sir.
let me ask you, did y'all have a shovel in the car?
No, sir.
Okay, when you got out of the car, when y'all parked in the plaza, did you get on your hands and knees and dig through the ground?
No, sir.
Okay? You didn't bury anything?
No, sir.
Okay, did y'all have a ladder in the car?
No, sir.
Okay, did you try to scale one of the buildings so you could put something on the roof for the loop?
No, sir.
Did you take anything out of the car?
No, sir.
Did you take anything off of Jordan Davis?
No, sir.
Did you see Tommy Storms do that?
No, sir.
Did you see Leland Brunson do that?
No, sir.
The defense attorney said, you've never been in a situation like that, intense situation. Well, let me ask you, was it exciting? Was it exciting that night for you to be in that car when Jordan Davis was shot?
No, sir.
Was it funny?
No, sir.
What was it like?
It was scary, terrifying.
Defense attorney asked you, y'all were together, you and Leland Brunson and Tommy Storms after the shooting.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all conspire to come up with some kind of story to lie about the murder of Jordan Davis?
No, sir.
You said you were scared, right?
Yes, sir.
Did Tommy Storms appear to be scared?
Yes, sir.
How about Leland Brunson?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any tears coming from Leland's eyes?
Yes, sir.
Was he shaking?
Yes, sir.
Defense attorney mentioned that Leland Brunson didn't call 911 when y'all got back to the gate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was in Leland Brunson's hands when y'all got back to the gate?
Jordan was still on Leland when we got back. He was still holding Leland. Jordan.
Defense attorney said she kept calling him, I guess, the guy. The defendant is the one with the gun, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he was pointing the gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where was it pointed?
At Jordan.
So he wasn't going like this?
No, he was looking at Jordan's door, aiming at Jordan's door.
Was he looking in the same direction the gun was pointing?
Yes, sir.
Defense attorney said you didn't turn around, you didn't look at Jordan Davis, right, when y'all were at the gate station before the shooting.
Correct.
Did you ever see the dome light in the car come on?
Oh, no, sir.
Does the dome light in that Durango come on when the door opens?
Yes, sir.
You were asked about you and Tommy Storms being in the music business. Y'all have like a company together?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Well, it was OFM.
Okay, is it big?
No, sir.
Y'all make a lot of money?
No, sir.
You still in business with him?
No, sir.
You still close to him?
No, sir.
You were asked about the cars being either farther apart or closer together. Could you have gotten out of the car?
No, sir.
Why?
Because, well, I'm a bigger guy, and the doors were, the way the defendant parked it was pretty close, so the doors couldn't have really opened enough for me to slide out to get out.
When you heard or saw the defendant say, "Are you talking to me?" was that before or after he asked for the music to be turned down?
That was after.
How close was that in relation to the time of the shooting?
I couldn't give an exact time, but it was the time he came out, so a few minutes.
And you were in the car the whole time, right?
Correct, sir.
And the defense attorney asked you, and you said you agreed, you never thought it would go that far.
Correct.
Did you ever think that anything that Jordan Davis was doing or saying while you were in the car,
Possible speculation.
Overruled.
did you ever think that anything that Jordan Davis or anybody else in the car was saying or doing that night would cause another human being to shoot Jordan Davis?
No, sir.
Anything else? That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
May he be excused?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hanania?
Yes, he's excused.
Thank you, sir. No, you're excused. State's next witness.
Leland Bronson.
Leland Brunson, please. Mr. Brunson, if you'll come on up to the front for me, please, sir. And if you'll raise your right hand, the clerk will administer the oath to you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, so if you'll come right around this way for me to the witness chair. And you can adjust that microphone as you need. Just be sure and speak directly into it and loud enough to everybody so everyone can hear you, all right?
All right.
Mr. Guy.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, sir. Could you please tell the members of the jury your name?
Leland Brunson?
And Mr. Brunson, do you live here in Jacksonville?
Yes.
How old are you now?
I'm 19.
And who do you live with?
My mother?
Are you employed?
Yes.
Where is it that you work?
At Dunkin' Donuts?
And how long you been working for them?
Since January?
Of this year?
Yes.
All right. Let me turn your attention to November 23rd, 2012. How old were you at that time?
I was 17.
Were you in school in November 2012?
Yes.
Where were you in school?
At Wilson High School.
And what grade were you in?
I was a junior.
Did you know a person named Jordan Davis?
Yes.
Where'd you meet Jordan Davis?
At Wilson?
Were you and Jordan Davis in the same grade?
Yes.
All right. And what part of town did you live in November 2012?
On the south side.
And what part of town did Jordan Davis live in November 2012?
South side.
Did the two of you all live pretty close together?
Yes.
In the fall of 2012, how often would you see or talk to Jordan Davis?
Every day.
And over the time that you knew Jordan Davis, how would you characterize your relationship with him? That is, were you acquaintances, friends, close friends, best friends, or what?
Best friends.
Did you also come to meet a person named Tevin Thompson?
Yes.
How'd you meet that person?
Through Jordan.
Did you also come to meet a person named Tommy Storms?
Yes.
And how did you meet Tommy Storms?
I met Tommy through Tevin.
All right. Out of those three people, Jordan Davis, Tevin Thompson, and Tommy Storms, who were you closest to?
Jordan.
Let me turn your attention specifically then to Friday, November 23rd, 2012. You remember that day?
Yes.
You see Jordan Davis that afternoon?
Yes.
Where did you see Jordan Davis first that afternoon?
At his house.
Did you go over to his house?
Yes.
How did you get there?
My mom dropped me off.
Did you have a car at the time?
No.
Jordan Davis have a car at the time?
No.
Did you and Jordan Davis leave his house that afternoon or early evening?
Yes.
How did y'all leave?
Tommy and Tevin came and picked us up.
Tommy Storms, Tevin Thompson?
Yes.
You call the exact time that y'all left?
No, I can't recall this.
Was it daylight?
Yes, it was still daylight.
And how were the four of y'all traveling that afternoon?
By car.
Whose car?
Tommy's car.
Can you describe it for us?
It was a red Durango.
Let me ask you to look at your monitor, States 43. You have that image up?
Yes.
You recognize that?
Yes.
You recognize it to be Tommy Storms' red Dodge Durango?
Yes.
All right. Where did the four of y'all go first after Tevin Thompson and Tommy Storms picked you up?
We stopped by Tevin's house.
And what happened there?
Tevin, he went in the house to go change.
Anybody else go in?
No, we all stayed in the car.
Where'd y'all go after that?
We went to the town center
And why'd y'all go to the town center?
to look for girls.
Did the four of y'all stay together at the town center?
Yes.
Did Jordan run into anybody that he knew?
Yes.
Who was that?
His ex-girlfriend, Aaliyah
You know her last name?
Harris.
You recall where y'all ran into Aaliyah Harris?
It's a store called the Outfitters.
Outfitters?
Yeah.
At the town center?
Yes.
Okay. Did the four of y'all leave the town center together?
Yes.
Did you leave in Tommy Storms' Durango?
Yes.
And where were y'all going then?
We was headed to the Avenues Mall
And why were you going to the Avenues Mall?
to look for more girls.
Who was driving the Durango when y'all left the town center?
Tommy.
Where were you seated?
I was seated behind Tommy.
And where was Jordan Davis seated?
He was seated behind the front passenger.
Would that be to your right?
Yes.
And where was Tevin Thompson seated?
In the driver's seat.
Did the four of y'all stop anywhere on the way to the Avenues?
Yes, we stopped by the Gate gas station
And why'd y'all stop at Gate?
to get some gum.
Why'd you want gum?
Our breaths were stinking.
Not a good way to pick up girls.
No, not a good way at all.
And at which Gate station did y'all stop?
The one on Southside, between Southside and Bay Meadows.
And do you recall where Tommy Storms parked the car when y'all got to the Gate station?
Yes.
Where was it in relation to the store?
It was on the left side of the store, in front of the main entrance door of the Gate store.
Was it facing the store?
Yes.
Or away?
No, it was facing the store.
Okay. When Tommy Storms pulled into that parking space at the Gate, was there anybody on the directly on the passenger side of the Durango?
No.
Was there music playing in the Durango when y'all parked there?
Yes.
What type of music?
Rap.
What was the volume like?
Loud.
Did anyone get out of the car and go into the Gate store?
Tommy did.
Did you or Jordan or Tevin get out of the car at any point?
No.
As y'all were sitting there in the car, waiting for Tommy, what was Jordan Davis's demeanor or mood like?
Happy.
How about Tevin Thompson's?
Happy.
How about yours?
Happy.
How about Tommy Storms before he got out of the car?
Happy.
At some point while the three of y'all were waiting for Tommy Storms to return, did a car pull into that space immediately to the right of the Durango?
Yes.
Did anyone get out of that car?
Yes.
Was a person that got out a male or female?
Female.
Was female white, black, Hispanic, Asian, what?
White.
You see where the white female went when she got out of the car?
Yes, she went into the store.
Did you see the driver of the car that pulled up next to you?
Yes.
Was it a male or female?
Male.
And was that male driver white, black, Hispanic, Asian, what?
White.
And while y'all were sitting there waiting for Tommy, did the white male driver of the car sitting next to you say something to y'all or in your direction?
Yes.
What was that?
He said, turn the music down. I can't hear myself think.
Were you looking in his direction when he said that?
Yes.
Did anybody turn the music down?
Tevin did.
Did Jordan Davis say anything when Tevin Thompson turned down the music?
Yes.
What was that?
Turn the music back up.
Did he use any curse words or derogatory words when he said that?
No.
Who was he talking to? Who was Jordan talking to when he said turn the music back up?
He was talking to Tevin.
And what did Tevin Thompson do when Jordan Davis said turn it back up?
He turned it up, but not as loud as it was before.
Did Jordan Davis then say something to the white male driver in the car next to y'all?
Yes.
Was he using curse words?
Yes.
Did you say anything to the driver of the car?
No.
Did Tevin Thompson?
No.
And Tommy Storms, is he in the car yet or is he still in the store?
He's still in the store.
All right. Did Jordan Davis and the white male driver exchange words?
Yes.
Is the music still up when they're exchanging words?
Yes.
Was Jordan Davis upset?
Yes.
He appeared to be.
Yes.
Did the driver of the other car ever appear to be upset when they were exchanging words?
Yes.
Did you ever see Jordan Davis put his hand on the door handle of the car?
Yes.
Did he ever get out of the car?
No.
Did he ever open the door?
No.
Did the dome light ever come on above you guys?
No.
Did you ever hear Jordan Davis threaten to hurt or kill the driver of the other car?
No.
Did you ever see Jordan Davis threaten to hurt or kill the driver of the other car?
No, I didn't see him threaten to hurt him.
Was Jordan Davis using his hands at all?
Yes.
Tell the jury how he was using his hands.
He was pointing his finger.
With what hand?
Oh, the right hand.
Okay, where was Jordan Davis's left hand, if you recall?
It was propped up behind the seat.
Or kind of near you?
Yeah.
Did you ever see anything in Jordan Davis's hands when he was talking to the driver?
Yes.
What was that?
Cell phone.
Jordan Davis's cell phone?
Yes.
Did you ever hear or see Tevin Thompson threaten the driver in any way?
No.
Did you threaten the driver in any way?
No.
Were you aware of any weapons in the Durango that evening?
No.
And at some point during their exchanging of words between Jordan Davis and the driver of the car, did Tevin Thompson adjust Jordan Davis's window in any way?
Yes.
How was that?
He put it up midway, about this much space in between.
Okay.
The clothing.
And how far would you estimate that is, what you just demonstrated?
About a couple of inches.
Okay. And is that from the top of the window to the top of the door?
Yes.
At some point, did Tommy Storns come back to the Durango?
Yes.
When he came back, Tommy Storns, did you see or hear Tommy Storns threaten the driver in any way?
No.
Did you see or hear the driver say anything to Jordan Davis around the time Tommy Storns got back into the car?
Yes.
What was that?
He said, "Are you talking to me?"
And how were you able to see or hear that? Tell the jury.
Tevin had turned the music down as he's saying that.
At what point?
At the point where we was like, "Excuse me, what'd you say?" And he said, "Are you talking to me?"
Did Jordan Davis say anything back?
Yes.
What was that?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
And what did you see the driver of the other car do when Jordan said, "I'm talking to you"?
He reached in the glove department.
Of his own car.
Yes.
And what did you see, if anything, the driver get from the glove compartment?
A gun.
What did the driver do with the gun when he got it out of the glove compartment?
He cocked it back.
What do you mean by that?
He grabbed his gun and cocked the front part back.
Like pull the slide back?
Yes.
All right. Judge, for the record, I guess the record should reflect that he actually demonstrated that.
Yeah, for the record, it was a demonstration of pulling the slide back on the firearm.
And what did you see the driver do with the gun after he pulled it from the glove box and pulled the slide back?
He aimed it towards the car.
What part of the car?
Jordan's window.
And what did the driver do after he aimed the gun at Jordan Davis's window?
He opened fire.
What did Tommy Storns do when the gunshot started going off?
He put the car in reverse and tried to get out the way.
Did you hear any gunshots as Tommy Storns was backing away?
Yes.
What happened to Jordan Davis when Tommy Storns was backing away?
He had collapsed into my lap.
And what did Tommy Storns do after he backed up?
He had pulled into the next part of the plaza.
Did you hear any gunshots as Tommy Storns then was driving forward into the next plaza?
Yes.
What were you doing when Tommy Storns was pulling forward?
I was covering Jordan.
Show the jury how you were covering it.
As he fell in my lap, I was like covering him so he won't get shot.
Did Tommy Storns drive off through the plaza and out on the south side?
No, he just drove. He was still in the plaza. He just drove over.
Did he stop?
Yes.
Do you recall exactly where he stopped?
No, I don't recall.
When he stopped, did he like pull into a parking space or did he back into a parking space?
No, he just pulled into.
When Tommy Storns stopped the car in the plaza, did you get out?
No,
Where was Jordan Davis when he stopped in the plaza?
in my lap.
Were you touching Jordan Davis?
Yes.
How were you touching him?
I was checking to see if he got shot.
With your hands?
Yes.
Okay. What happened when you were checking his body with your hands?
When I realized that it was blood on my hands, that's when I told everybody we need to go back and get help.
Did you realize after hearing gunshots and seeing blood on your hand that Jordan Davis had been shot?
Yes.
Where was your attention focused when you realized Jordan Davis had been shot?
It's trying to get some help for him.
Did you or anyone else call out Jordan Davis's name when y'all stopped in the plaza?
Yes.
You call who did that?
Tevin.
Did Jordan Davis respond at all when Tevin called out his name?
No, he was just gasping for air.
And Do you recall anybody getting out of the car in the plaza?
No.
Were you focused on Jordan? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Where'd y'all go after you stopped in the plaza?
Oh, we had went back to the gas station to get help.
Okay, and how did Tommy Storms drive?
Yes.
Okay, how did he drive? Did he like make a loop and turn around, or go on the south side and back on the Bay Meadows and around, or how did he do it?
No, he just put the car in reverse and backed up into the gas station.
Were all four of you still in the car when he backed up to the gate?
Yes.
It's fair to say you were still concerned about Jordan Davis when you got back to the gate?
Yes.
Did Tommy Storms park the Durango when y'all got back to the gas station?
Yes.
Where again in relation to the store?
Still on the left side, but still in front of the gas station.
Facing the store?
Yes.
Did Jordan Davis ever, was he ever able to say anything after the gunshot started?
No.
When y'all got back to the gate after the shooting, did people come to help?
Yes.
When I say people, I'm talking, did civilians come?
Civilians came and it was one paramedic that came as well.
All right. Did police show up?
Yes.
When y'all got back to the gate, were you given any instructions about what to do?
Yes.
What was that?
One of the paramedics had requested me to get out the car so they can pull Jordan out.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Did they pull Jordan Davis out of the car?
Yes.
What door did they pull Jordan Davis out of?
Out of my door.
Did you call 911 that night?
No.
Did you realize that other people had called 911?
Yes.
What did when they took Jordan Davis out of the car, where'd they put him?
They put him on the floor.
Did anybody try to help him?
Yes, they tried to give him CPR.
At some point, were you directed by the police officers there to go back into the gate store?
Yes.
And were Tommy Storms and Tevin Thompson given that same direction?
Yes.
Y'all go into the store when you were told to?
Yes.
Were there other civilians in the store?
Yes.
And from the gate station, were you taken to the police station that evening?
Yes.
How'd you get to the police station?
A police officer had escorted us.
By escort, did y'all go in a police officer's car?
Yes.
The three of you?
Yes.
Okay, did you and Tevin and Tommy talk about what had just happened on the way down there?
No.
When you got to the police station, were you interviewed by detectives?
Yes.
Were you interviewed by yourself or with Tommy Storms and Tevin Thompson?
I was interviewed by myself.
Did you tell the detectives what happened?
Yes.
They show you a series of photographs?
Yes.
Were you able to single just one photograph out?
No.
Did you single two out?
Yes.
And were the photos, were you trying to single out the driver? Is that what the photo spread was?
Yes.
Okay. Before the detective showed you photographs, did they give you some instructions on how to look at the series of photographs that you were about to be shown?
Yes.
And did you actually sign that form?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you to look at your monitor if you would. States 21, you recognize that?
Yes.
Is the door that the place where you were sitting depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
Can you circle it there for the jury?
If you push on it real hard with your finger, you can make a circle, or there you go.
All right, so that would be the rear door on the driver's side?
Yes.
And is that the door that they pulled Jordan Davis out of?
Yes.
All right. States 26, you recognize that? Or is
Yes.
that 28, I'm sorry. Is that a depiction of the area you were sitting?
Yes.
In States 32, is that a fair depiction of where you and Jordan Davis were sitting in the back seat that night?
Yes.
States 24, you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
Jordan Davis' wallet.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you States 164. Ask you to look at that. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
It's the photo spread instructions.
Okay. Did you sign that form?
Yes.
Your signature's on there?
Yes.
All right. Have that back. You got anything else? No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Hanania?
Good morning, Mr. Brunson.
Good morning.
Sir, you've already discussed the fact that you and Mr. Davis were very close.
Yes.
You described him as your best friend at that time. Is
Yes.
that right? And obviously, losing your friend was a traumatic experience for you, right?
Yes.
And you care about what people think about your friend. Isn't that right, sir?
Yes.
Now, you did not know Tommy Storns very well. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you just met him a couple times before this. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you knew Tevin Thompson through Jordan Davis. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. But Mr. Davis, you'd known for at least 2 years at the time that he died. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, sir, you on this particular day, which was Black Friday, you and Mr. Davis had wanted to go out and do something because you were off of school, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you knew that Mr. Davis was trying to make plans with Mr. Thompson to see about y'all getting together and going to the mall. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're not sure what time that call was made or when it was finalized. Is that right?
No.
And you didn't know about Mr. Storns' felony probation at the time that y'all got together that night. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
You didn't know that Mr. Storns was on felony probation when y'all were together that night. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Now, you're picked up, you and Mr. Davis are picked up by Mr. Storns and Mr. Thompson in Mr. Storns' car. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Storns is driving, Mr. Thompson's in the front passenger seat. Is that right?
Yes.
And you and Mr. Davis get in the back seat.
Yes.
You behind the driver, Mr. Davis behind Mr. Thompson, right?
Yes.
Now, at the time that y'all get picked up, it's still light out, according to your memory. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's about somewhere between 4, 5, 5:30. Is that right?
Yes.
And as the four of you are going towards the town center, y'all are having discussions in the car about how everybody's day is going, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the music is playing. Is that right?
Yes.
And y'all are also listening to music throughout this ride. Is that correct?
Yes.
And by that I mean, from the time you're picked up by Mr. Storns, and y'all go to the town center, and then from the town center to the gate station, and even when y'all stop at Mr. Thompson's house for him to change, all throughout this time period, that music is playing.
Yes.
One particular artist or another. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you get to the town center, y'all are there for About a half hour or so, according to your recollection?
Yes, probably about an hour, yes.
Okay, half hour to an hour, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you leave the town center, there's continuing discussion in the car about going to the Avenues Mall so y'all could try to find some other girls, is that right?
Yes.
And at this point, when you're heading towards the Avenues Mall, it's getting darker outside, is that right? Or it's actually dark at this point, is that right?
Yes.
Now, when you stop at the gate station, I'm sorry, let me back up for a moment, sir. When you and Mr. Davis are picked up by Mr. Storns, how are you dressed?
I don't remember what I had on.
All right. How was Mr. Davis dressed?
I don't remember.
Now, as y'all were going through this evening, all of you, to your knowledge, had cell phones, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Including Jordan Davis?
Yes.
Okay. And was that a cell phone that he was using on that night?
No.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
With the court reporter. high-tech white noise. That's what they call that. I always forget to use it, but I'll try to remember. Ms. Hanania, the objection sustained. Go right ahead to the
Thank you, Your
next
Honor.
question.
Sir, when you were in this car, this SUV, as it went throughout the night, what was the position of your window throughout the evening?
It was up.
Did it ever change?
No.
Okay. And what about the position of Mr. Davis's window? It was halfway down through most of the trip, is that right?
Yes.
Because Mr. Davis liked to ride around with his window open, is that right?
Yes.
But you don't necessarily have any recollection of the position of the other people's windows?
No.
Now, when you get to the gate station, Mr. Storns parks the car, is that right?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Storns parked the car when you got to the gate station?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't remember what space it was that he parked in, right?
No.
Okay. But you know that he pulled in hood first, right?
Yes.
And pulled up just a normal parking job, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when he went inside the store to get the gum and the cigarettes that he was going to get, correct? He left the engine running, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so he left the engine running so that the music would continue to play because you guys were still in the car, right?
Yes.
And the music's still on, right?
Yes.
And it's turned up pretty loud.
Yes.
And at this point, it's rattling the mirrors and the windows a little bit, right?
Yes.
Okay. And y'all always played music that loud when y'all were together, is that right?
Sustained.
Throughout this ride, it was always playing at about that level, isn't that correct, sir?
Yes.
And while y'all were in the car waiting for Mr. Storms, Mr. Davis and Mr. Thompson were talking about meeting up with girls at the avenues, right?
Yes.
And they were doing that while Mr. Thompson was in the front seat and Mr. Davis was still in the back seat, correct?
Yes.
And you weren't really focused on anything that Mr. Storms was doing because you were focused on listening to this conversation that the two of them were having, correct?
Yes.
Now, at some point, a black sedan pulls into the gate station as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now this car pulls in to the right of the car that you're in, the SUV, correct?
Yes.
And it pulls in hood forward, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's just a regular parking job as well?
Yes.
Okay, nothing unusual about it?
No.
Okay, and you're farthest away in the car, of the three people in the car, you're farthest away from that black car that just pulled in, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the SUV is a tall, big car, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it was taller than the black car that was to the right of it. Is that right?
Yes.
And between you and that black car is Jordan Davis. Is that right?
Yes.
And tinted windows. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, you indicate that you heard the white male say, can you turn the music down? I can't hear myself think. Is that right?
Yes.
And so having heard that, Tevin Thompson then turns the music down. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And he turns the music down, and that's when Jordan Davis reacts. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And he reacts angrily to the fact that the music's been turned down. Isn't that right, sir?
Yes.
And he uses profanity in telling Mr. Thompson to turn it back up, right?
No, he just said, turn the music back up. He didn't curse when he said that.
Okay, so you don't hear, your testimony is that you don't hear Mr. Davis say, F that N-word, turn it back up. That's not something you heard.
No.
And I know I'm using initials, but you understood what I meant by that sentence,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now, but you can tell, whether you heard that or not, you can tell that Jordan Davis is angry about this, right?
Yes.
And he says something about I'm tired of people telling me what to do. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And you don't hear anything else from the white male who's in the black sedan. Isn't that right, sir?
No.
Okay. All you can see and hear is Jordan Davis getting angry, right?
No, what I saw after he said, I'm tired of people telling me what to do, the male, the driver, and Jordan was going back and forth.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing part of what you said. So let me just ask you, just to make sure that I know what you're saying. You knew that Jordan Davis was yelling, right?
Yes.
And you know that he was yelling towards the white male in the black sedan. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And you knew that he was cursing while he was yelling at that person? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that he continued to have that behavior throughout this whole incident. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And you know that you're saying that they exchanged words, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't hear any of the remarks coming from the white male in the black sedan, right?
No, I couldn't hear them because the music was up loud, but his mouth was moving. So I took that indication that they was going back and forth.
Okay. And you see that his mouth is moving from the opposite side of the car in the Durango SUV. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, Mr. Thompson, you said, raises Mr. Davis's window some more. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so it had been about halfway down. So at that point, at that level, Mr. Davis can extend his arm out the window. Is that right?
While he was rolling the window up?
No. Okay. No. Mr. Davis's window is about halfway down when this all first starts, right?
Yes.
Okay. About halfway down, so he can stick an arm out the window. Plenty of room to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he can stick objects out that window. Plenty of room to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, as this exchange is going on, as he's yelling at this other person, Mr. Thompson decides to raise Mr. Davis's window. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And he raises it, but doesn't close it completely, right?
No.
It's still open at least 3 inches. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And he does that by using a control that's on his door, correct?
Yes.
So, and your memory is that he has buttons on his passenger side door with which he can control Mr. Davis's window. Is that right?
Yes.
So, and he never leans over to the driver's side door to do that. He just does it right there from his own door.
Yes.
And the other man, the white male that's in the black sedan, his window is up for most of this. Is that right? Is that right, sir?
No, his window was down.
Okay. Is it true, sir, that it was up for some of it and then you see him lower the window?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't hear any racial slurs coming from this white male in the black sedan, right?
No.
He doesn't say anything derogatory about you guys, right?
No.
He doesn't say anything derogatory about your music, right?
No.
He's not name calling, right?
No.
And he's not yelling and screaming because you can't hear him, right?
Right.
Okay. He's not using any curse words, right?
No.
Not making any threats, right?
No.
Now, throughout this, Jordan is still seated in the back seat of the SUV. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time that the shots are fired, he's sitting straight up in your memory is he's sitting straight up in the back seat of the SUV, of the Durango, right?
Yes.
Okay. With his back up against the seat, back, right?
Yes.
And according to you, his left arm is extended along the seat back, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And his feet on the floor of the SUV?
Yes.
Okay. And his body is facing forward, and his face is turned towards his window. Is that correct?
Yes.
And towards the black sedan that he's been yelling at, correct?
Yes.
And after his window has been raised somewhat by Mr. Thompson, Mr. Davis puts his hand on the car door, right?
Yes.
And tries to get out of the car, right?
Yes.
It's common speculation.
He's already answered it.
And it's your testimony that he couldn't get out of the car, is that correct?
Yes, he couldn't.
Okay, because it was, what you told the police was the child locks were engaged on those doors at that time, is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a conversation that took place approximately 4 days after this incident occurred, correct?
A child loss was on?
Yes, sir.
No, we knew that the child loss was on from
No, let me clarify my question because I think I might have confused you. It's your testimony that you believe that the child locks were on that night, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked to the police that night, is that right?
Yes.
You didn't tell the police about the child locks that night though, right? You told them about the child locks in the second conversation you had with them when they came back to ask you about that.
They didn't ask about the child loss in the first conversation.
Okay, I understand, but my point is, 4 days later, they come back to ask you about the child locks, and that's when you tell them about it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the only other thing that you hear the white male say is at some point you hear him say, "Are you talking to me?" Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's your testimony that you saw him grab a gun.
Yes.
And again, it's your testimony that from where you're seated in the Durango that you can see him reach into the glove box in his car and pull out a gun. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the gun that you see him pull out is a gold-colored gun. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you and, once you see this gun, according to you, it's pointed towards the area where Mr. Davis is seated. Is that right?
Yes.
It's not pointed in any other section of the SUV. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And there are shots that are fired. There are 3 shots that are fired. Is that right?
I can't recall how many shots was fired.
Okay, there's some shots fired, and then Mr. Storm starts reversing. Is that right?
Yes.
But this white male is shooting from inside of his car.
Yes.
He's still seated in the driver's seat of his own car.
Yes.
And when you guys move away, when you pull away from this gate gas station and go over to the adjacent plaza, that black sedan doesn't follow you, correct?
No.
And he doesn't come looking for you and continue to fire shots at that point. Is that right, sir?
No.
Okay. And the way that the cars are lined up, the front seats are lined up with each other, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're sitting right next to Mr. Davis at the time that he's shot. You later find out that he's been shot, of course, right?
Yes.
And you're sitting right next to him when that happens.
Yes.
Right? You're not ever injured. Is that right, sir?
No.
Now, you guys, you go somewhere in the adjacent plaza to the parking lot. I'm not sure how far you went. You never got out of the car, right?
Yes.
You stayed with your friend.
Yes.
Okay. You don't know for sure whether or not Mr. Storms or Mr. Thompson got out of the car, though. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and eventually you guys go back to that gate gas station,
Yes.
where again, Mr. Storms and Mr. Thompson leave the SUV, leave the truck, right?
When we get to the gas station?
Yes, sir.
Yes, they got out.
And you stay in the back seat with your friend.
Yes.
Okay. And you're there for at least 5 or 10 more minutes while they're out of the car before help comes to get Mr. Davis out of the car. Is that right?
No, it was less than 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. For at least a few more minutes then. Would that be
Right.
fair to say?
Right.
Okay. And at that point, then the 3 of you are instructed by police to go and stand by a patrol car. Is that right?
Yes.
And that patrol car is situated to the left of the gate station. Is that right?
Yes.
You're kind of looking at the back of the gate station at that point. Is that right?
Yes.
But that was the first instructions that you'd gotten from any officer as to where you needed to be or where you should be. Is that right?
Right.
And you were placed into the gate station, the actual store itself, along with Mr. Storms and Mr. Thompson. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And then y'all were transported down together. Is that right?
Yes.
If I may have 1 moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Guy?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brunson, you were asked about Jordan Davis having his window halfway down and whether or not he could have stuck his arm out. Did you ever see him stick his arm out the window?
No,
Did you ever see him stick anything out the window?
no,
Cell phone?
no,
How about a shotgun? You ever see him stick a shotgun out the window?
no,
You ever see him put a shotgun up against the window?
no,
Was there a shotgun in the car?
no,
The driver, you saw his mouth moving?
yes,
Could you hear everything that he said?
no, not everything.
You spoke to the police that night and then on a later date.
Yes,
Did you answer all their questions?
yes,
Did you do your best to tell them what you had seen and heard?
yes,
Is it fair to say that this was a traumatic event for you?
yes,
You were very close to Jordan Davis?
yes, I was.
You ever had anybody die in your arms before?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
When you saw the driver with the gun, was your mind set like, I'm going to look at this gun and study it to see if I can describe it in the future? Is
Objection,
that,
Your Honor, leading.
Sustain.
what was your mindset when you saw the gun?
I just looked towards everybody and told them, let's get out of here.
And it looked like it was goldish to you?
Yes,
All right. You have 118 available? You see that thing on your monitor?
yes,
Does that look like the gun that you saw?
yes.
My moment, John.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
May he be excused?
He may.
Ms. Hanania? All right, thank you. Mr. Brunson, you're excused. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our break for lunch. The lunch should be here. If not now, it will be here in a moment or two. And so we'll break until 20 minutes after 1. And again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't let anybody discuss the case with you or in your presence. We'll watch over your notes during the lunch break. We'll see you back in about an hour. I'll give you Mr. Brunson and Mr. Thompson back. I'll hold on to the other one. Yeah, anything else we need to do from the state?
No, sorry, I just want to know clearly what time we're going until, because we have 3 witnesses, we'll have 5 witnesses for after lunch, and we'll bring them back to Park, we have to do that. I'm just trying to.
I've told you, be prepared to go to 6 o'clock every night. That's not to say we will.
Why? No.
Overestimate.
We're gonna have them bring it back. We're gonna have them bring it
If
back.
we get through all those people and it's 5 o'clock, obviously we'll stop, but
Okay.
I may not be happy.
Well, I certainly want Your Honor to be happy.
Thank
so-
you very much.
Yes, sir. So what we'll do is we'll.
So do
have
I.
extra- We'll have extra here and then bring it back tomorrow.
Right.
I'll just be candid with the court. We have FDLE and ME witnesses that we've got to deal with getting here. One of them's out of town. And I just want to make sure we.
I understand, but,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to mess up your order, but obviously, we were a little ahead of schedule. I'm thinking you could grab somebody.
Well, we have 3 more on top of them. I'm talking about scheduling them to come in over a weekend. That's the only little unusual thing.
Well, you think you've got 5 lined up for the afternoon?
We have more than 5 lined up for the afternoon. We have like 6 or 8.
For this afternoon?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, well, that,
But I don't think we can get to all of them based on the length. I'm trying to judge it based on the length of the last 2 witnesses. I think we can get to the next witness, it's pretty obvious who it is, and then 4 more witnesses, one of which, if you'll recall, Judge, is the evidence technician that took a long time. It was every photo, it was a lot of the physical evidence, so.
Maybe it won't take quite this long this time, but who knows? Uh-oh. Looks like Mr. Carlisle's smiling back there. He may have the evidence technician.
Well, I can turn out some photos at lunch and pass them to every jury. So.
No,
I just wanted
it's
to-
Miss Abel, so from what I can gather, we'll see.
Yes.
I just want to be prepared to go and get a nice full day in each and every day. That's all I'm saying. And again, be prepared to go to 6. That's not to say we will go to 6. Quite frankly, I got an emergency hearing in another case at 5:30, but I'll make them wait if we're still going, so. Okay?
Yes.
All right, see everybody back in about an hour.
Your Honor, can I speak with you privately?
Sure.
Thank you.